Welcome to Living Well with MS, the podcast from Overcoming MS for people with multiple sclerosis interested in making healthy lifestyle choices. I'm your host, Jeff Alex. Thank you for joining us for this new episode. I hope it makes you feel more informed and inspired about living a full life with MS. Don't forget to check out our show notes for more information and useful links. You can find these on our website at overcomingms.org/podcast. If you enjoy the show, please spread the word about us on your social media channels. That's the kind of viral effect we can all smile about. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Now, without further ado, on with the show. In this episode of the Living Well with MS podcast, it's my great pleasure to welcome David Lyons. In 2006, David was hospitalised and diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at the age of 47. He's a former bodybuilder and health club owner and exercised regularly and had a healthy lifestyle. But with his initial MS attack, he had partial paralysis, tightness, pain, numbness in his extremities and back, as well as lesions in his brain causing cognitive problems with concentration, and lesion by his optic nerve which caused vision impairment and blackness when seeing out of his left eye. He also lives in a constant state of fatigue caused by MS, and while he was in hospital, doctors told him that he would most likely leave in a wheelchair and would not return to his normal workout routine. So, where did David go with this? Well, at the age of 50, David Lyons decided to compete in an NPC bodybuilding competition. David is also the founder of the MS Bodybuilding Challenge and co-founder of the MS Fitness Challenge with his wife Kendra. He has dedicated his life to helping people with MS understand and be educated on the importance of fitness in their lives. He has numerous awards, including the National MS Society Milestone Award, and he's been presented with awards by none other than Lou Ferrigno, who younger members may not realise was once the Incredible Hulk, and a certain Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I am sure most people know. So, David, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, glad to be here.
And to start off with, I'd like to welcome you to the Living Well with MS podcast. But could you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and anything that the audience would like to know to get a sense of who you are?
Sure. I've been in the fitness industry for over 40 years. I was a trainer. I'm a trainer educator. I actually write courses for other trainers to be able to work with people, especially now with MS. I got diagnosed with MS out of the blue in 2006 at the age of 47. I was in great shape. I was bodybuilding. I've been a bodybuilder and a martial artist and a boxer my whole life. And all of a sudden I get diagnosed with MS, basically with a punch in the face because I didn't even understand what MS was. So I spent 5 days in the hospital and they did all sorts of tests. They kind of misdiagnosed me at first. And then at the 5th day, they said, I've got MS. And I said, what's MS? And they explained it to me and then told me I'd be in a wheelchair within 6 months. So I didn't know much about the disease, but as someone who had at that time 25 years of fitness experience, I had a feeling that if I got back into the gym, I could beat this disease through bodybuilding. But I was wrong.
And this is a podcast, so obviously no one can see you, but I can see you on video. He's a pretty big guy. I'm sure you would say not because you're from that background, but in normal parlance, you're a big guy. You're the creator of the MS Fitness Challenge. So what exactly is that?
Well, it's kind of a funny story how that all happened. I was back in the gym and I said, I'm going to beat this disease through bodybuilding. And we started a kind of a movement called the MS Bodybuilding Challenge, which was me challenging myself to beat MS through bodybuilding. I competed in a bodybuilding competition, and I realized that the bodybuilding itself made me look good. It made me kind of feel good, but it was doing nothing for my MS. My leg was dragging, and I couldn't close my left hand. It was just a mess. So the bodybuilding was not helping MS. So my wife, who's an RN, she said to me, okay,
sorry for people around the world. Is that a nurse, registered nurse?
Yeah. Registered nurse, yes. And she had been a nurse for 20 years and has a big heart to help people. And she stopped me and she said, this bodybuilding, it's not helping your MS. There's got to be a better way to do this. And I started to investigate what is the best way for me to beat this disease if it's not bodybuilding. And during that process, my wife said, you got to stop the bodybuilding part of this. You can do it for yourself, but are you really helping anyone with MS being a bodybuilder? Or are you going to help people with MS if you teach them how to get better through fitness? And that's where my wife created the MS Fitness Challenge. We changed it from the bodybuilding challenge to the fitness challenge. During that time, I was digging deep into how the brain works, how the nervous system works, how our muscles work. I knew a lot as a bodybuilder and a trainer and an educator, but I didn't understand how it connected to MS. So I took about a year's time implementing training methods that I started to create on myself. I used myself as a guinea pig. During the MS Bodybuilding Challenge, we were reaching out all over the world, helping people with MS understand the importance of nutrition, mindset, and exercise. And I was developing the Optimal Body program, which is the program that I have now that's in that membership for people. But it's a very, very unique type of training that took me over a year to develop so that I was utilizing it on myself. And all of a sudden, my leg was bending. I was able to squeeze my hand. I was overcoming these symptoms. And I said, if it works for me, this can work for other people with MS. And we went around the country doing 12-week challenges where we would help people through the charity, through the MS Fitness Challenge for free, where we would work one-on-one in gyms with a group of people with MS, getting them stronger and better. And that's how the whole MS Fitness Challenge started. But it was kind of a combination of the Optimal Body program that I didn't even explain to anybody then, and the charity.
So what would you say people with MS typically get wrong with their fitness programs?
A lot of things. Okay. And number one is they're really being misled in the MS community about what exercise for MS should be. And I say this not to bash anybody that's got fitness programs out there, but they're all well-intended. They're just people that do not have MS. So they're giving out programs and putting people down a path of doing what they call functional exercises, which do not create the three most important things that are needed for us with MS to be able to overcome our limitations. The difference is my program and the way that I train people and the training methods I've created create a production in the brain called acetylcholine, which is a chemical that actually moves muscles. And everything that I'm telling you, there are studies in the National Board of Medicine that you could find, and they've gone through this with athletes. Acetylcholine is produced when an athlete focuses during his training in a specific way and trains a special way. His level is very high. With MS, our level is very low because we're not creating what we need normally. My program helps people create that acetylcholine production. In turn, the acetylcholine production creates muscle fiber activation, which means our muscles themselves are being activated through this process and causes an anabolic effect. Now, anabolic means muscle stimulating. Now, everybody thinks of steroids with bodybuilders when you say anabolic, but anabolic is a term that means that our muscles are growing, they're getting stronger. It's another thing that's important for us with MS. My program does that. The next thing is our brain needs to be reconnected to our muscles because of the disconnect of the nerves. We have nerve damage. We're not repairing that damage. What we're doing is we need to get our brain to bypass that damage, reconnect back to the muscles that were lost, and then the muscles need to talk back to the brain. My program creates that. The last thing is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, for those who don't know what that means, it means that we're taking the nerves that are not working well and we're kind of deleting them, throwing them to the side. We're finding the nerves in our body that do work well, and we're trying to redirect them to where we want them to go so that our arms move better, our legs move better. But it's a very, very difficult thing to happen. And all these exercise people out there for MS throw out neuroplasticity as if all you have to do is think about it and it happens. It doesn't. You have to create it. And doing leg lifts and these normal exercises that you could find on YouTube are not going to do that for you. It's the specific way that you train that does these things that are important for us for MS. That's what I've created that's so different and so unique. And the testimonials of the thousands of people over 10 years that I've been doing this that have followed these type of training methods with me are proven that this works over and over and over again.
And if people have got different forms of MS, so someone with progressive MS, or if they've got different levels of disability and maybe they're wheelchair bound, maybe they're bed bound, can they still use the similar techniques? Can they still take part in your programs?
They could use all the techniques. Now, I don't have relapse and remitting. I have PPMS. I never really had relapse and remitting. I went right into this terrible state. They said I would be in a wheelchair in 6 months, okay? Doing the training methods that I did, I actually repaired all of the symptoms that I had. I could jump rope. I could run on a treadmill. I could do all sorts of things. I squat 500 pounds, and I'm not a kid. I'm 62 years old, and I work out like I'm 30, like as if I don't have MS. So anyone could use this, and my program is designed for people that could stand and for people that can't. So if you're not mobile enough or balanced enough to be able to stand during the exercises, you can do them seated. But the goal is to get you to be able to stand and be able to be mobile. Some of the people that have worked with me, and I have video of all of this because I videotape a lot that we do, they've come to me where they had trouble walking up and down stairs on their own, and now within months of running, and I have it all documented, running up and down stairs after following my training methods, which activated all those processes I told you in the body. You're not going to get that by doing normal squats or by doing, hip bridges or foot drop exercises. Those things are great, and I'm not downing exercise as a whole. It's all good. But if you want to actually beat the limitations of MS, you need to follow a program that was designed by someone with MS that lives this every day and that is using training methods that were created specifically to get you better, not just taking normal movements and telling people follow that and that's going to get you better. It just does not work.
So OMS very much is an evidence-based program. It was founded by a doctor who had MS, a bit like yourself in a way, that he'd found a system that worked for himself and wanted to get it out to more people. And the books are full of research materials. It's like 25% listing of research papers. So it's very much a research-based approach. So has there been any scientific research on fitness or any of your methods and how that would affect people with MS?
Well, unfortunately, they've never really done fitness for MS studies. They're doing some little things here and there, and I know that the MS Society had a few things that were put out there that showed that exercise helps you, but most of that was cardiovascular exercise, was not strength training. But what I do know is that the way that I came up with my training methods was through actual scientific studies that are in medicine, in the books, okay, that I took from how the body works and I applied it to MS. You cannot deny the acetylcholine production. You cannot deny that if you train the way that I train with the people that I work with, either one-on-one or through my membership program, that they are getting the type of training that will stimulate their muscle fiber activation, that can stimulate neuroplasticity. All of this stuff is not MS studies, but it's studies on the body. And those studies are there. So if you take those studies and just apply them to MS like I did, you have a proven system that works.
And so, slightly cheeky question here. Trying to get a freebie. If you could tell someone with MS, say, 3 quick hacks that they could do that would allow them to see some sort of difference in the way that they feel with their symptoms, what sort of thing would that be?
I wish I could give you that. It's not 1, 2, 3. It's a plan. It's a game plan. Okay. It's training methods that you have to follow. Now I will give you an 8-week challenge that you could go on for free that shows some of my training methods, not all of them, but gives you a sneak preview of how we're doing what we're doing, why those methods are so different than the other type of programs out there, and why people are getting the tremendous results they are. That you can do. I'll give you a link that you could send to whoever you want to, and you could look at it yourself.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes. That would be fantastic, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, the things that are important are how you focus during the training that you do, what you're thinking. Okay, a lot of people think that listening to music is motivating, but it's actually distracting for the brain. So when you're listening to music while you're training, you're only distracting and taking away part of the focus that you need to create acetylcholine. So that's number one. Number two, you cannot just do normal exercises and expect to get anywhere. You've got to apply principles that were designed for MS. That's important. And number three is what you're putting in your body when you're not exercising is just as important, because if you're putting in a lot of inflammatory foods and things like that, you're just counteracting the exercise that you're doing. So whether you're in my program or whether you're not, don't eat things that are going to give you inflammation, because it's going to take away from all the things that I was talking about in the processes that your body needs.
And yeah, we're very much, as an organization, it's all about diet, fitness, mindset as well, mindfulness, and stress reduction. As well as if you're going to get disease-modifying therapies, but it's the whole package. So the MS Fitness Challenge is a non-profit organization. So why has it been set up as a non-profit? Because I'm sure there's a bit of money to be made out there.
Well, no. First of all, the MS Fitness Challenge is a charity.
Right.
And what that charity is for is to educate on mindset, nutrition, and exercise for people with MS. We're in 25 countries. We have a lot of free programs on the website. With somebody who cannot afford to be in a paid membership program could click and follow. Yes, the paid membership program that we have is way more comprehensive, and it's a more detailed type of program than you're going to get on a free charity. But the charity does provide a lot of free resources. We're out there helping people to understand how important fitness is. So we're not trying to make money from the charity, okay? But we started this for-profit entity, which is the Optimal Body Training Program, where we can bring in money. And a lot of that money is actually donated back into the charity. So, it all kind of washes back and forth. The key here for us is that we want to provide for those who cannot afford to pay for anything, the ability to still be able to get fitness information and proper fitness information. I have experts in my charity, people like Lou Ferrigno's daughter, Shauna Ferrigno, who does a lot of our mindset coaching. She had a #1 selling book called The Reset Plan out there. She helps people get their mindset. We have people like Maureen Manley, who was a professional biker, even Olympic biker, who helps us with our wellness programs. We have Monica Pelle, who's our director of nutrition, who does our nutrition programs, and Matt Embry, who you might know about. Matt, we provide our members and people involved in our charity his best bet diet, because we believe highly in Matt and what he does in nutrition. There's a lot of things that we're providing. We have other trainers that have MS that work with our charity that provide training programs. In fact, one of my trainers who's in our Optimal Body program, Kathy Chester, is now recording a whole training program that's free for the charity for people that cannot afford the membership part of it. So the charity is a very nonprofit organization that provides a lot of great free resources.
And so if someone's starting, this is the first I've heard of you say, what would you say is a good point to start? Is it worth doing the 8-week trial program and see what they think, or do you need to jump straight into the optimal body personal fitness?
So here's my opinion, okay? And take it for what it's worth, because it's my opinion, of course. But the program, the membership program, it's inexpensive. It is the least expensive program for anyone with MS out there, and it's the most effective. You can cancel it anytime. So if you signed up for a month and you spent $20 with our discount code and you said, okay, this is not for me, you just don't renew it the next month. We're not locking people in. We're giving them the opportunity. The 8-week challenge is really great, but it's more for people that cannot afford that $20 a month, or we have a yearly plan that's even cheaper and you get resistance bands included. So we've made it very inexpensive, but there are people that are in such a limited budget that the 8-week challenge is the only way they're going to get the type of information that they need. So that's what we recommend that for. The membership, if you jump into it, you're not going to be disappointed.
Okay. So where do you see the MS fitness space going? What's next for you? Is there anything, things on the horizon that would allow you to reach more people with MS, or where's the future going?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Before COVID hit, we were having live training camps where people were flying in from all over the country and some coming in from Canada and other places for a weekend with my team, and we were working one-on-one, hand-to-hand with them on nutrition, mindset, exercise. We were taking them through programs that we do. COVID hit, so now what we're planning on doing is doing it more virtually. As COVID and all this, scare goes away, we will then do the live programs again. And I also want to have the goal of getting back to our gym 12-week challenges where we travel around the country and go for 12 weeks and work with people inside of gyms. So there's a lot that we want to do, but of course, like everybody in the world, we're waiting anxiously to see where we go with this COVID situation. But we are, with the charity, planning on a virtual training camp moving forward. Again, we are launching a program that is just a click away on our website. We just launched a new nutrition program, a wellness program, and the exercise program will be out in about a month. That is accessible through the msfitnesschallenge.org website.
So there's always going to be something for people outside the States. So if they're in Europe or in Australia or Africa, there'll be resources out there. The physical getting to see you part, which would be fantastic for personal training. But I'm a long way away personally, and there are many others who are further. So there are resources out there, and will that always continue? That you'll have the virtual side of it?
Yeah, we will always continue the charity part, which will be virtual on the website as well. But the membership, the Optimal Body membership, is worldwide. We have members in Sweden and Switzerland and the UK and Canada and Germany. We're actually in 25 countries with our charity, and we're probably in 10 countries already in the 4 months that we've launched the Optimal Body program. I personally work with people one-on-one, so I do have a program for those that want me specifically. It's costly, but they get me one-on-one online where I come into their home via video, and I'm actually working with 40 people in probably 8 countries right now.
Okay, so to finish up, Is there a piece of advice you would give to people in a fitness area, for people who, let's say, are newly diagnosed with MS? What's the best thing they could do?
Well, number one, don't listen to any doctors or people that tell you that you're going to be in a wheelchair or, your life has gone down the tubes now that you've got MS. Don't listen if you're being told to just relax. Don't listen when they tell you that exercise and nutrition doesn't help, because that's not true. And be very cautious, and don't just take everything face value. When you find an exercise thing that's online for MS, don't just jump into it because it says MS exercise. That does not mean that the person that's running the program, even if they're a trainer, understands MS and lives it. It does not mean that the program is actually getting the results that you want. Investigate. See who's behind the program that you're thinking about getting into. Make sure that the program that you are getting into can provide you with the processes that you need to actually overcome limitations, and that the person that founded it and is running it has MS himself or herself, so that that they can relate to the everyday struggle that we deal with. Somebody that does not have this disease, if you ask them, what does it feel like to not feel your legs but be in pain, how are they going to know? How's someone without MS going to understand how we battle this disease and how we overcome it through fitness? Just be cautious, that's all. Make sure that you're finding a program that really will work for you. And whether you join the Optimal Body program or you follow me through the MS Fitness Challenge or you go in another direction, my mission is to help as many people with MS get ahead of this disease through fitness. And whether it's with me or with someone else, just do it.
And just to wrap up, what I'd like to say, particularly on this episode, is it is well worth checking out the show notes. So if you're listening to this on a mobile device and you don't normally look at anything on there, do check out the show notes, because there's links to the Optimal Body personal fitness program. There's links to huge amount about David Lyons, but the links to all the resources we talked about are fully available in the show notes for this podcast. And so I'd just like to finally say thank you very much for that advice. Thanks for joining us, David Lyons.
Well, it was so good being here, and, I'm honored, I'm humbled that you guys would interview me, and I hope that I was able to help anybody, if it's even one person, go down the right path.
Thank you. Just as a final note, if you haven't already, please consider registering at www.overcomingms.org. This way you can stay up to date on all the latest OMS news, including new programs and digital initiatives. Again, that's www.overcomingms.org, and look for the register button in the upper right corner of your screen. Thank you for listening to this episode of Living Well with MS. Please check out this episode's show notes at overcomingms.org/podcast. You'll find all sorts of useful links and bonus information there. Do you have questions about this episode or ideas about future ones? Email us at podcast@overcomingms.org. We'd love to hear from you. You can also subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Living Well with MS is kindly supported by a grant from the Happy Charitable Trust. If you'd like to support the Overcoming MS charity and help keep our podcast advertising free, you can donate online at overcomingms.org/donate. Thank you for your support. Living Well with MS is produced by Overcoming MS, the world's leading multiple sclerosis healthy lifestyle charity. We are here to help inform, support and empower everyone affected by MS. To find out more and subscribe to our e-newsletter, please visit our website at overcomingms.org. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you next time.